Good morning. I thought I would try a little bit of more of the Alstroemeria that I enjoy so much. And this is a photo I took of a set of Alstroemeria that I had in my dining room, and I'm trying to trace a 5x7 image here on my watercolor paper, which is Artist Cold Press 140 pound. So what I did originally was I started by just doing kind of basic circles to do the outline, a little bit of an oval and then another oval, and then about a half a oval sideways here, and then started to bring in the petals a little bit, and you can see that just by the way I did the petals here and tried to get the little stamens up here, and then eventually putting in the stamens here and trying this is my outline of where my mat would go if I was going to put the mat around it, and I made it just a little bit bigger than that so that you wouldn't see the line there, because sometimes you just like to enjoy just drawing wherever and then you realize you don't have a pre-cut mat that fits, so it's always better if you can work with that too. Okay, so then I added in a few more of the petals and a little bit more of the stamens. And then I refined everything a little bit more so that I have a better image to go by. I put a little bit of line in the back because I'm not sure if I'm just going to make a dark background or if I'm actually going to put light colors from the rest of the flowers that are back there. And you can see that again up here. See, because there's additional flowers behind there, but whether or not that'll really... I am going to put a little bit of lemon yellow into these areas in here and here. A little bit around here and a little bit around here. Okay, they're a bit strong, so I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to just add a little bit of water, and I'm going to soften them up a bit by dabbing over on the... I have a sponge over here on the side that I'm just lifting and then dabbing. And softening a little bit. Now I do want to keep a lot of the white in here, even though it looks a little bit off-white in the picture. And the way I'm going to do that is just by wetting this other area now. I'm not going to mask or anything, but I'm just going to try and avoid putting in too much pink. And the way I'm going to do that is, and that I'm going to use permanent rose for that. Okay, so you can see over here that I have tried the permanent rose and I've done a bit of detail on this one. I had other flowers too, but I didn't like the combination of the colors, so I want to stick to one set of colors here. Again, I'm going to try and put a little bit of pink in and just move it around in these faces here. So let's try it. This is all wet right now. Take my glasses off in order to actually see. Bear with me for a second. Okay. So the idea is if you drop in a little bit of the color here, it will actually spread down and you can move it around with a little bit of water. So I'm going to start with that. And there's a little bit more strength over here. Where is this? Now you can go outside of the lines, you don't need to worry about that. A little bit over here, a little bit there, down here, here, here. Oh, there's some nice strength in there. Can you see that? I'm just going to go back and get a bit of more color here. Gotta be careful. Oh, not enough. I'll bring that in there a bit. There's a little bit more over here. Down below here, this a little bit down here. Here a little bit. Definitely in here. And over here a bit. Slight amount there, not much. Okay. Okay, let me just see. I missed over here and over here a bit, and even the here, but that's a little too much, so I'm gonna again use my water to soften it up a bit. That's too strong, pushing it back. There's a hint of it around here, but I've got to be careful. It's on the edges a little bit. This is a little stronger. It's quite nice, actually. And there's a bit of shadow in here too, so I can let this go out around here. And definitely here and here. Soften all these up here. A little bit down below there. Okay, now if I was just to leave it like that, I could. Let's see how this is here. Because I could come back in a little later and just add a hint more touch up, because it's nice and soft. You've got some white still going on, and it's quite light. You know, I think we've got enough here. So the one thing I'd like to do, depending on how wet everything gets, I've got to be careful because it'll splay up. I think what I'm going to do is leave these a little bit white, maybe drop in. No, I'm going to come in with some green. That's all I'm going to come in is with some soft greens and some a little bit darkers. All right, let's try that. What I've done is I've put a little bit of yellow mixed with sap green on my brush, and I'm just going to try and do a very light green. That's almost too much. I'm going to add some water to this now and just kind of pull it around the flower. Doesn't have to be in the lines there. Let's lift that up so you can see it a bit better. Let's go in there, around there. Just be careful because some of the other area is still wet. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. I'll bring it up there a bit. Back in here a bit. It's fine that it's pooling down there, no problem. You can always just dry the brush and then lift it up a bit. And then dry the brush again and lift off the paint if you need to. Now that's nice and subtle there. There is a little bit of green in between, and you can see here a little bit of greens in there and here. And there's some nice darks in here, okay? So, but I can't do anything until, I can do a little bit of the green up here, but I can't do anything too much until it all dries. So I'm going to come back in with that little bit of mixture here, and I'm going to just add to the top here a bit. Drop that in there. Okay, so it's turning quite yellowish, and it's still wet to the touch, so I'm not going to be able to do anything for a minute. And I have dried it with a hairdryer a little bit, so now I'm going to do a little bit more of the background with a little bit of indigo in just a few parts here. Just drop that in there a bit to get some of these darks. And then what I'm hoping is that I'll take some more of the sap green afterwards and darken it up a bit more. Just a little bit more indigo here for a few of these little dark areas. There's a few more dark areas just up in here a bit. And a bit over here. And there's less dark up on the top here, so I'm going to leave that and just work with the sap green. So now I'm just going to clean the brush and put on some sap green. And you can see here a little bit again where I went. Up in this area a little bit, over here, just to get some depth. And there's some greenery up here, which I'm just going to leave everything green here. Working on the greens. Now here I made it darker and the indigo disappeared. So I dropped back in some indigo again, but here I actually covered it all in the sap green, and I found it took away some of the lights that I wanted, so I had to lift and take that away. So now I'm just going to add a little bit more sap green into some of this area, just to kind of create some of the leaves that I have here. And I'll just show you here up at the top here. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see better. There we go. So coming back down here, I don't want it too perfect because the idea is that it's just a hint of the idea of the leaves there, maybe some stems. So, and keep everything focused on the detail of the flower or flowers. Okay, come back here. Here a bit. Maybe a little bit in here. There's some shadows coming across those leaves there. And a little bit of darker here. Here too. Maybe a little bit more indigo. Especially here. Otherwise we don't have any depth. Just, oh, there goes the computer again. Technical difficulties. Okay, so I'm going to leave that pretty much that way for the bottom. And now coming back to the top area, let's see here. I've put a little bit of sap green on, and I want to just try and maybe highlight a little bit around the flower, but not much else, because we've got a nice focus, we've got a lot of color everywhere else, and then we just want to bring those flowers out a bit. We don't want to have to draw too much attention to up here where what's going on. Let the imagination go a bit. Just going to bring a little bit more green in there, a little bit. Let's drop in just a hint of indigo just in here, band. And let it and up here a bit. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to stop for a second and I'm going to change my brush to a smaller brush. I've been using a 6 round, and actually I think it's an 8. There we go. There, I think it's an 8. And I'm now going to go into some of the smaller details here. Not too much, because if you notice here, I did too much here and it just overwhelmed it. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more subtle and just add a few hints of some of these. But definitely we want some of the pinks and the stamens here. And we want to maybe touch a little bit of the extra color in here. I don't know if we'll bring any more shadow in here or not. I'm not sure, because I would use a little bit of mauve, I think, in here too, which I did over here. I just added a little bit of magenta in there, quin magenta, just to darken it up, but it has to still be subtle because we don't want it to overwhelm. Okay, so just give me a second here. My Escoda, and just go into some of these stamens here. This is a 0 Escoda. Now they're very pink, and it's a little bit more pinky orange there. So what I can do is go back to the lemon yellow and see if I can just, maybe too wet. Just make a hint of it. I don't know. Try here. Need a little bit more water. Pretty strong. Gotta be careful here. Now there is an area down here at the tip that's quite strong, so I'm going to come in with a nice bit of color in here. And I'll soften that up in a minute. There's some nice color just up in here a bit. Over here. Up here again, another little bit of a tip there. And it's almost like the little marks are kind of pinkish. So I can add a few. And then over here, there's another little, this dark piece right in there. There's a bit of dark around here a little bit. And I'm trying to figure out, I think there's a little bit of green in here. And we got to figure out how to get that bit of shadow underneath here too. Now, having done all those little details, I have to go in, I have to soften it. So here I've just taken some water and now I'm just going to pull that out a bit. Pull the color and let it flow over, trying to make it less sharp there. And just come around. Same here, try and soften that up and just pull it around a bit. Okay, a little bit more water. This is pretty good. Up here. Over here. This is kind of hit and miss. Could use a little bit more yellow here maybe. Oh, careful. There's more pink in there. A few more stamens than I realized, so I'm just going to come in a little bit more. One more over here. There's another one over here. One I didn't capture here. Okay, and then there it's quite dark. They're almost a darkish green yellow, so I'm going to try and figure that out in a bit. But there is some nice stamen over here, actually, that I'll do. First I'll do a small wash kind of area here, yeah, just here. I'll pull a little bit because I'm going to have to soften all of these. If you notice, they're kind of mixed. So if I start with the line and kind of pull the lines out, then I should be able to soften them with some water and hopefully get the kind of stamen that I want. Here we go. So if I just put water, whoa, that's a bit strong. Okay, let's put that over there a bit. I'd like to actually see that a little bit here too. Soften them up a bit. Okay, clean that off, clean my brush off, and now just come back over here and pull these out a bit. One over here. Kind of comes underneath here too. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. This one is a little bit more choppy, so let's soften that up a bit. I can lift some color over here and bring it over. Okay. So, now that that's done, there is a bit of a stamen down here too. So let's just throw some color in there. We don't have to make it so detailed because this is a little less of I'm trying to focus more on this area and then have your eye flow around here a bit. So I've got to be careful not to have too much detail in all the different places, but I do need some shadows. And let's try and bring that, what did I mention, the Quin Magenta. Okay, I gotta reach for it. Okay, Quin Magenta, just so you can see it, is like that. Oh, there you go. Now you can see it now. So I'm just going to try and bring some of that shadow in here a bit. Can actually lift it from over there and bring it back in here a bit. I can also add a bit of water just to kind of pull it through here. Oh, you're not seeing much of it. Okay, let's try again. A little bit too much shadow and light not happening well. Okay, this is definitely some shadow in here too. So I have to go back to my other brush actually. So we'll take a minute and we'll come right back. By adding a little bit of magenta here, and I moved my magenta so I could get closer to it. I also made the flower a bit wetter here. So if I drop it in now, that's too intense. But I can just take the brush and just move it around. There are some shadows, if you notice, up in this area, shadows in here. So I'm going to go back here. Sorry, I may have moved the camera a little too fast. And I'm just going to add some of the shadows in there that I see. I'll bring some more of the permanent rose in there too. Just highlight them a bit down here. A bit of shadow under here, but I'm gonna, whoa, that was too strong. So we'll, no, that's not good. Okay, let's just take that over to some of the pink over here. And let's move it around. That's a lot of color. So we got to get some more color into some of these other areas here. Quick way of picking it up. Now if I had my tissue handy, which I should, I could just lift it, but I've got another issue. So I'm just going to keep working it out until I've actually got it a little bit more the way I want it. Let's lift it more over here, and over here a bit. And I'll show you what I'm going to do in just a moment. I'm just going to add some more over here, a little bit more over here. Okay, so having made that happy accident, I'm now going to show you what I'm going to do. I have to find my other brush. Oh, I see it. No. Okay, one second. Okay. A couple things to do. You can take the water and just flush it out, push it around. Or you could also take some tissue, which I happen to have behind me here, and dab it down. Oops, where we are. See, there we go. So that's taken a lot of it away. That's fantastic. So now I can go back and I can fix that, because now I still have some color on this brush. And I'll go back in with a little bit more magenta. Oh, that was purple. Oh, I want that. I want the magenta. And I'm going to try and flick that in there a little bit. There, a little bit here. In here a little bit. Around here a bit. And there's shadow that comes right underneath the stamen in this area here. I just don't want to get too much, because there's some nice greens in there I want. There's definitely some more shadowing in here. There's actually some green that should be coming up here. See if I can mix that with the green. Just pull it up a bit. And drop that in there. But, oh, that color is actually going to be perfect for the stamen here. Let's try if I can lift that a bit. Another stamen here. Here. That one there. Somewhere down here too. And there's some dark in there. So now I'm going to go back in and try and drop in a bit more color there. Now that was sap green, so I'm going to go back with a little bit more sap green. Let's see how we got there. And see if I can just jab that a bit to make it a little bit more stamen-like. And that same color can actually go in here a bit because there's some reflection from the flowers and the leaves in here. So I'm just going to drop that right in there. That's a bit too much. It wasn't as deep. If you notice, it's not as deep there. So let's just soften that up there. And it's too wide, so let's tissue it out a bit. Okay. Now we have some more darks in here, but not enough. So let's just drop a little bit more in there and here. And we've made that line, but we have to soften up. We can't have that too much of a line like that. It doesn't look real. Okay, and we're going to come over here and darken that a bit. We've got to darken now that line here a bit. And I still didn't get that little bit of green I need to get in there too. And we need to get a little bit more of the couple of the dashes around there. There is some actual mauve areas here. Just a bit of shadow in here. And over here actually. But I gotta be careful because if I do too much, then I lose that nice subtleness of the pink that's coming through. But I gotta do, oop, that's way too much. So I'm gonna try and just soften that up there. That's good. And a little bit over here. I need some over here. All right, a little bit more there. I didn't put the stamens on here yet, so what I did was I used mauve, or pardon me, the quin magenta. Started with that. Here, up here, here. Big one there. I don't know exactly what that is. There's a couple of dashes there. Okay, and then I added in the sap green over top. And I'm just going to drop in a little more sap green over here too. There's one there. That's looking a bit better. Now I can actually see if I can try just a hint of the sap green here for some of the shadowing. If I'm careful. A little bit of the lines of the flower here. Gotta be careful of that too. Oops, too much. Just put in a bit of shadowing in here. There is a little shadow there with the kind of reflection of the leaves from the background. Okay. So I'm going to leave it for a minute and I'll be back. Okay, so I was working on a little bit of adding some more gray, and I took the permanent rose and I took the sap green to make some of the grays that are in here, because they're two complementary colors, and so by putting them together they'll actually come up with a bit of a gray. And so I added a few more places, tried to highlight a few things where there's some lines and stuff are, and I'll just bring that back up so you can see here. And then the only thing I want to do now is add a little bit of some of these markings around here. And I'm going to take permanent rose and a little bit of the yellow, lemon yellow, just to make it a bit more orangey, and I'm going to go in here and just make some lines. I noticed that some of the yellow is kind of disappeared, and I'm going to try and bring those back a bit. Now, I don't think I have enough color and water here. You want more pigment, you don't want a lot of water, because what will happen is it'll just splotch, and I need to get it to make those fine little lines and make it look interesting. But again, what did I say? Not too many, because otherwise it becomes too busy and not enough of a, otherwise it'll create too much of a disturbance and too much on the eyes. You can't really deal with it. So I've added a few more of the little marks around. I even went to a burnt sienna for a bit. And I noticed that I just added a few extra pinks here on the edge, but I didn't soften them out here. So I'm just going to soften that out here a little bit. There was some real more dark in that area than I saw. So let's get that in there and drop that back in there. A little bit more here maybe. Okay, I think I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like with a little bit of a mat around it. So a couple of things that I did was I softened up the top part of the leaves because I found when I took a picture of it, it was too choppy. So I've softened that up a bit. And I darkened a little bit on the left-hand side here because I felt that I wasn't getting enough value differences. Everything was too much of a mid-tone, so I've added a little bit of darks in there as well. And now I will be putting the mat over top. So this is an 8 by 10 mat that I have now put over, and the original size of the little picture is 5 by 7. And you can see just on the other side here is another one that I had. That looks a little bit better when the mat is around it, but I still feel that the colors are too many different colors for that. So I prefer just having the one color. And thank you for watching.